Hey church, happy to get another midweek video to you. I urge you to continue to be praying for our nation in times like this. We as the church are supposed to be a beacon of light, hope, wisdom, discernment. So primarily, as we're praying for our nation, we do need to be praying for the church, that the Lord would guide us, He would help us to be a light. That we wouldn't be pulled to one side or the other, but that we would be promoting the Prince of Peace in these times. Having said that, let's get into the purpose of these videos, is that we would not just be hearers of the word, but that we would be doers of the word as well. And it's my desire that something in this video will help you be a practitioner of what you're hearing, not just a fan of truth. So having said that, let's just get right into it. Last week we talked about being eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom. Jesus introduced an idea of some people making themselves eunuchs. Those are people who have cut off all of their organs that they would need for sex, and really it's a symbol of losing relationships. The context of that scripture is marriage, and Jesus is saying some people willingly to choose to be single for the sake of the kingdom. And last week we talked about the idea of being eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom, this idea of that a calling to singleness is out there, and that may be us. And the most important thing that I think we should get from last week is whether you are called to singleness or whether you are just single now, the truth of the matter is, in this moment, you are a eunuch for the sake of the kingdom. And you can you can make use of that. You can walk into the fullness of that using your time, your resources, things that don't have that, like you have a single focus when you're single. You don't have to think about a family or other people's priorities or other things. You can just completely give everything to for the sake of the kingdom. So you can do that, or you can spend this entire time of singleness wanting something else. And that is being in a calling right now of singleness, focusing and desiring a different calling. And if you do that, that is going to make you of less use in the calling that you're in. Even if you're listening to this and you're married, there are people who are married who are in a calling, and things in their marriage aren't working the way that they want them to work, and so they're desiring another call, rather than being fruitful where God has planted them. And that's my encouragement from last week. Whether you are a eunuch for the sake of the kingdom because you made the decision, or you're a eunuch for the sake of the kingdom because that's just where God has called you at right now, or even if you're not and you're married, to do it all for the sake of the kingdom. At the end of the day, wherever you're at, whether single, married, called to marriage, called to single, or you're in between, you are in a place where God has called you to right now. And my encouragement to you is to work for the sake of the kingdom. Give God everything that you have, all of your time, your priorities. Serve Him in the calling that God has you in. If that's single, that means you can give everything. If that's married, you can still give everything, but part of that is serving and sacrificing for your spouse. So my encouragement to you guys is whatever calling you're at, be in that calling and serve God in that calling. This week, we're going to end the whole single marriage thing, dating, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what we're doing, but we're going to end it this week. And I want to talk to you guys about the roles of marriage. However, my focus is not on marriage itself. I don't think we have enough people who are watching where I would spend a whole time talking about marriage. However, I do want to talk about what has God called a husband to be? What has He called a wife to be? For two reasons. One, if you're not married and you want to be married, you'll be able to see, okay, this is the foundation of how I should be as a spouse. So these are the things that I should expect. But if you're not married, or you are married and you don't want to be married, or you're in marriage trying to be a good spouse, I think this talk will be helpful, because there are certain aspects of being a husband and a wife that really just come from being a good disciple. And that's this week's message, is talking about good disciples make good spouses. So whether you're in marriage, or whether you're called to marry, or whether you're called to be single, this message is going to be helpful because a good disciple will make a good spouse. And even if you're not called to have a spouse, this will be a message that will help you become a better disciple. I look forward to speaking to you guys this Sunday. Continue praying for this nation with me. I'll see you then. Love you. Bye. I need your love.